Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Can anyone confirm me if I'm audible to all of you?
Yes,
A
Prabhuji.
quick thumbs up. Okay, all right. Hare Krishna. We'll just start in a quick second. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today afternoon discussion on Bhagavad Gita. We're on the chapter 9 and we'll resume our discussion from the verse number 14. Before we do that, let's offer prayer together. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Pashata Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaurtuse Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. One quick second. Just wish to put the mobile phone in a silent mode. It's making too much sound. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare. So, welcome everyone. Let me just pull out my presentation and we'll start the discussion. we are here. Perfect. So, where is my presentation? So, we are resuming our discussion from chapter 9, titled as The Most Confidential Knowledge. And today is going to be the second part on it, if I'm correct, wherein we are intending to discuss from verses 14 to 34. This is the very, very important section or discussion. In fact, it is said to be the essence of our lessons. So I can rush through it or I can go slowly. We'll see how it goes about it. But we have our Bhakti Shastri syllabus to complete also. So let's take a look. So the acronym for this chapter, as we had discussed before, just a quick recap for all of you. King. K stands for knowledge from verse 1 to verse 3. Well, Lord Shri Krishna says, Rajavidya Rajaguyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam. What I'm about to tell you is the king of all knowledge. And then I, in conceivable relationship, where how Maya Tatam Idam Sarvam Jagat Avyaktamurtinaha. I'm present everywhere, yet nothing is situated within me, or Masthani Sarvabhutani, everything is situated within me, yet I'm not within everything. Like that, from the verse number 4 to verse number 10, we have the discussion where Lord Shri Krishna actually talks about his Achintya Bhed Abhed Tattva, inconceivable potencies. And then come the third section from verse number 11 to 25. A very important discussion to understand. Well, Lord Shri Krishna here talks about three kind of worshippers. So far, in the 7th chapter, Lord Shri Krishna has spoken about 4 kinds of people. I believe we have discussed this last time, so I'll not go much in details. Just a quick recap just for our understanding. In the 7th chapter, Krishna spoke about 4 kinds of people. 4 kinds of people who surrender to Krishna, 4 kinds of people who do not surrender to Krishna. Namam prapadante mudha, what is that? Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritam arjuna. So 4 kinds of people surrender unto me and 4 do not. That was discussed. Here, Lord Shri Krishna speaks about 3 kind of worshippers who are worshipping. For example, Ravana. Ravana was also a worshipper. Hiranyakashipu, he also worshipped. So in Vedic times, if we talk about Vedic history, any personality for that reason, everyone accepted somebody to be superior or supreme than he or I, like that. So here Lord Shri Krishna talks about such 3 kind of worshippers and their mentality a little bit and their destination. Briefly, Krishna speaks on that. So we'll take a look at it. So if I am correct, we have already discussed verse number 11 to 13. What was 11? So Lord Shri Krishna said, the fools deride me. In this verse, what it means by fool deride me, they take me as a mere human being when I appear as in a human body. We had a elaborate discussion on this particular subject. Then Arjuna pondered, what is the destination of such offenders? Then Krishna says, those who reject my personal form, those who reject deity worship, etc., etc. We all can recall what we discussed last time for that. Krishna says, Rakshashim Asurim Chaiva. They take to Moghasha Mogha Karmanu, all their fruitive works are futile. Then Mogha Jnana Vichetasa, their knowledge is bewildered. Rakshashim Asurim Chaiva, they take to the Rakshashi or Asuri mentality. They become not only destroyer of the world, but they also become self-abuser. And they just, it's something very interesting recently, His Holiness Devamit Maharaj was making a point. There is a very strange psychology. And what was the strange psychology he was talking about? And he said, there are certain people who rejoices in causing destruction, knowing the fact while causing destruction, they will be destroyed themselves. And he was quoting a case study of during the Cold War era, there was a time and there was a situation when nuclear threat was at the peak. In other words, I'm talking about the Cold War era from the 1970s. There was a false alarm and the US had sent its bombers, fighter jets, to bomb Russia, thinking that, Russia or USSR have fired a nuclear bomb on its land. And the fighter jets that flew, that were supposed to fire nuclear bombs on USSR, they were just about few seconds away from their destination, as per se, from where they were supposed to shoot down. of fire, the missiles, and the result of that was they were also supposed to die. So it is mentioned just few seconds before they get a signal that the mission is aborted. You should not pursue. And then then these fighter jets, these fighters, the soldiers, or the pilots who were flying these fighter jets, they said, "Wow, we missed the opportunity." And His Holiness Devamit Maharaj was saying, what missed opportunity? You're about to cause destruction, and that destruction you would also got burnt and died. But this is what Rakshashin Master in Chaiva, they cause destruction, and in that destruction, they burn themselves, yet they consider that to be a better proposition. Like that, a person becomes crazy. This is what happens when persona is envious of Krishna. Then, so Arjuna thought, my dear Lord, what about those, who respect you, who accept you as a Krishna? And Krishna said, they are called as Mahatmas. Mahatmanas mam partha daivam prakritam ashritaha bhajanti ananayamanaso yatva bhutadam avyayam. O son of Pratha, those who are not deluded, the great souls under the protection of the divine nature, they are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So until here, we had our discussion in the last session. Now we'll resume our discussion from today. So this was 9.13, and I believe in our previous session, I would have had a discussion about the word Daivim. This is what, 13th, right? Yeah, Daivim, correct. Like in 7th chapter, number 14, Krishna says, Daivim Prakritim, what is Devi Eshugunamai Mama Maya Duratya? So one Devi is referred here, and there's another Devi is referred here. I hope you've had a discussion about what's the difference between this and that Devi, and how do we understand the difference. All right. Now we move forward and start with our discussion for today. And that will be the 14th verse. Tricky. Quick second, folks. Just trying to figure out. Pondered when Lord Krishna said this, and he thought, my dear Lord, how do I recognize such personalities who you call as Mahatmas? And in other words, what are the activities of these Mahatmas? And now Krishna says, text number 14. Satatam kitayanto mam yatantascha dharvataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. So Lord Shri Krishna says, if anyone would like to read, can keep their hands up, virtual hands, and I or the admins would call out their name. I'll read out the translation overview of it, and then we can read certain part of the public activities. Always chanting my glories. Satatam kirtayanto mam. How? Yatantascha dhrvataha, with a determination. Why? Krishna said determination. After all, we are living in the material world. Life is always not going to be on a progressive side. There are going to be challenges. Whatever challenges, maybe health issues, financial issues, social issues, family issues, whatever it is. Dradvrataha, the person goes on with the fixed vow, then I am going to please Krishna, I am going to serve Krishna. That's the meaning over here. Namasyantas chamam bhaktya, offers me respects, and nitya yukta upasate. And in such a way, such a person is always engaged in my devotional service. Like that, Lord Shri Krishna says. So let's read the first paragraph. Would anyone like to read it? Something happened to my screen. Yes, Abhishek Prabhu, I saw your hand up first. Go ahead, read out.
Yes, Prabhu. Puppet. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Puppet, first paragraph.
Yep.
Audible, Prabhu, go ahead.
Yes, Prabhu. The Mahatma cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. His symptoms are prescribed here. A Mahatma is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna. the personality of Godhead. He has no other business. He is always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. In other words, he is not an impersonalist. When the question of glorification is there, one has to glorify the Supreme Lord, praising him, praising his holy names, his eternal form, his transcendental qualities, and his uncommon pastime. One has to glorify all these things. Therefore, a Mahatma is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
And now please go on to the third paragraph,
Yes,
where
Prabhuji.
Prabhupada is talking about Dridvrataha.
In devotional
Yes,
services,
Santascha Dridvrataha.
in devotional service, there are certain activities which are called determined, such as fasting on certain day, like the 11th day of the moon, Ekadashi, and on the appearance day of the Lord. All these rules and regulations are offered by the great acharyas for those who are actually interested in getting admission into the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental world. The Mahatma Great Soul strictly observe all these rules and regulations, and therefore they are sure to achieve the desired result.
And the last paragraph, very beautiful point, Prabhupada, right? Go ahead.
As described in the second verse of this chapter, not only is this devotional service easy, but it can be performed in a happy mood. One does not need to undergo any severe penance and austerity. He can live this life in a devotional service, guided by an expert spiritual master, and in any position, either as a householder or as a sannyasi or a brahmachari, in any position and anywhere in the world. He can perform this devotional services to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus become actually Mahatma, a great soul. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So just to give you an example, to quickly summarize this, who is a Mahatma? So 4 things we saw here. Kirtayantaha, Dradvataha, Namasyanta, and Nityukta. Always engaged. And the very famous example, many examples can be, one example comes, which I often like to quote in context of this particular verse, is King Kulashekar. His absorption was so great, so great. He was a great devotee of Lord Ram. This is before 1,000 years ago around. He was a king in South India, one of the states in South India. His absorption was so great that at one point in time in his assembly, every day Ramayana was read. And at one particular time, Ramayana, you're reading it, so you're going to go sequentially. And at the time, one point in time, when the incident comes that Mother Sita had been kidnapped by Ravana, Kulashekar got so agitated and so angry, he ordered his minister, get the army ready, let's fight, let's go and attack at Lanka. And you can imagine what would be the situation of the ministers and the soldiers. Kya hua? Kaun si Lanka? Kahan jana hai? And now you can't really argue with the king. Hare Krishna. You have to tell him. So, just chill out. Sorry, what was I saying? So Kulashekar, when that section came, now the ministers knew that absorption, about the nature of the absorption of the king. And they were really angry at the scholar who was reading Ramayana. He said, what did you do? We have to raise our whole army. We have to walk with the whole army, go to the Rameshwaram, and God knows what the king going to do. So finally they agreed, and the king started walking towards the Rameshwaram. He reached Rameshwaram, and the king, when he saw the ocean, he became so restless. He jumped from the horse and he began to run into the ocean. Fight, fight, march, march. We have to reach Lanka. Mother Sita had been kidnapped. And the minister's like, we're going to lose our king going to die. And then they requested the scholar, please jump forward and read the section where Mother Sita was rescued. And the scholar, the Panditji, and the devotee began to recite Ramayana when Mother Sita was rescued. And the ministers gave the good news. My dear king, you don't have to go now. Mother Sita has been rescued by Hanumanji. Please come back. So that was a level of absorption of King Kulashekar. Of course, I'm just giving an example. I don't think anyone of us is going to go to that stage. But this is a point here. Perpetually, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. In our language, what it means to be a Mahatma, this was one example. And in our language, through Vaiti Sadhana Bhakti, following the rules and regulation, and following our activities in the spirit of service to Krishna. So we have a morning program, we have evening program. Now those who are householders, they have office responsibilities. Those who are mothers, they may have household chores and whatnot. Everything is performed in the spirit of service to Krishna, and in the spirit of service to Guru, Vaishnavas, and Krishna. and that's how we align this instruction over here. This is how the devotees live their life. Now comes the next discussion. After this, Lord Shri Krishna explains Arjuna about three types of worshippers who worship Lord but indirectly. Who are that? Let's take a look at it. Other types of worshippers. The three indirect worshippers described in 9th chapter, verse number 15. Let's take a look at the verse first. Jnana yagnena chapyanye yajanto mamupasate ekatvena pratatvena bahuda vishvato mukham. Translations. Others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, as diverse in many and in the universal form. So, little difficult, but let's take a look at Sanskrit to understand. Ekatvena, Prataktvena, and Bahuda Vishvatomukam. So, Krishna is saying there are three kinds of worshippers. Ekatvena, which means in oneness. So Srila Vaishnava Chakravarti Thakur, while writing commentary on this verse, he says, what does it mean in oneness, ekatvena? This is not the oneness which Ishopanishad talks about. That oneness is of spirit, where a servant or the sevak serves the Lord, understanding the need of the Lord. So in spirit, the Lord, the master and the servant is one, because he understands what's the need of the master and serves accordingly. But here, ekatvena means he worships himself as a Supreme Lord. And this is why we discuss. This is referring to verse number 11 and 12 of this chapter, 9th chapter. Verse number 11 and 12, Krishna discussed this ekatvena, where Mayavadis, they claim themselves to be God. I am Narayan, you are Narayan. And therefore, in all these, and let's say, who have this kind of understanding or misunderstanding, they can. Pratakvena means Pratakvena, many. You can call it as paganism. If you look at the Western theology, if you talk about our own philosophy or theology for that reason, worshipping many devatas, considering them all to be on the same level. That is Pratakvena. And then Vishvatomukham refers to universal form, who worship the Vishwarupa. Like that is being described here. Let's read the purport, very interesting, and then we'll quickly go through the next set of verses. I hope this is a little bit clear here, what is being discussed in this particular Ekatvena, Pratatvena, and Vishwatamukam. Some interesting points. Okay. Nitai Prabhu, read the purport text. Hare Krishna. Yeah, there seems to be a little internet issue here. Okay. Go ahead, please read out.
Yeah, Prabhu. Purport
The
by
voice
his
is pretty feeble.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This verse is the summary of the previous verse. The Lord tells Arjuna that those who are purely in Krishna consciousness and do not know anything other than Krishna are called Mahatma. Yet, there are other persons who are not exactly in the position of Mahatma, but who worship Krishna also in different ways. Some of them have already been described as the distressed, the financially destitute, the inquisitive, and those who are engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. But there are others who are still lower, and they are divided into three. First, he who worships himself as one with Supreme Lord. Second, he who concords some form of the Supreme Lord and worships that. And third, he who accepts the universal form, the Vishwarup of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and worship that. Out of the above three, the lowest, those who worship themselves as the Supreme Lord, thinking themselves to be the monist, are most predominant. Such people think themselves to be the Supreme Lord, and in this mentality, they worship themselves. This is also a type of God worship, for they can understand that they are not the material body, but are actually spiritual soul. At least such a sense is prominent. Generally, the impersonalists worship the Supreme Lord in this way. The second class includes the worshippers of the demigods, those who is imagination, those who by imagination consider any form to be the form of the Supreme Lord. And the third class includes those who cannot conceive or of anything beyond the manifestation of the material universe. They consider the universe to be the supreme organism or entity and worship that. The universe is also the form of the Lord.
Hare Krishna. So just for you to note down, Ekatvena concept has been discussed in verses 11 and 12. Prataktvena, diverse as many, or where people concoct some forms and they start worshipping them, like film stars, movie stars, or cricket stars, etc., or devatas for that reason. That discussion is in verses 20 to 25 of this chapter, and universal form will be discussed next from verses 16 to 19. So like that. So in other words, there are these three worshippers. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur have spoken elaborately about this in his Krishna Samhita. We don't have time to go into the details of it, so I'll skip that, but just to give you a reference, if you wish, you can pick up a book where it details Bhaktivinoda Thakur discussed the concept of Panch Upasana, the 5 kinds of worships: the worship of Shiva, the worship of Devi, worship of Shiva, worship of Ganesh, worship of Surya Devta, and worship of Vishnu. This is something related to that concept, and how actually in one way or other as a sadhaka we are also attributed to this worship. We might consider that we are rendering direct devotional service, but in Krishna Samhita, when Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about it, he explains, when he goes into the detail of the subject matter, that we are also stuck somewhere in these kind of worship only. Nonetheless, the bottom line here is, the problem here is with these worshippers, they all have a sidestep, the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the one who we can see face to face and have a direct relationship. Rather, they have sidestepped that opportunity, and such believer or followers of this path, they say that all paths lead to the same destination. However, Lord Shri Krishna in the upcoming verses will show or will talk about that he awards different results to a person who's engaged in different kinds of worship, largely based on their motivation and understanding. Accordingly, they get different results. So just to quickly recap, what are these 3 kinds of worshippers? Just to take a look at it. So Ekatvena means what? I would request you all spend some time with this verses 11 to verses 25 in your time, in your spare time, and read it several times. We'll find some very important clues in Prabhupada purports that can really help us. Let's take a look in a summary form. Worship himself as one with the Supreme. Mayavadis, lowest and most predominant, Prabhupada writes actually. Why Ekatvena is considered God worship, although they worship themselves as one Supreme. So Lord Shri Krishna says these 3 worshippers are indirectly worshipping Krishna. They are worshippers, they are indirectly worshipping. Worshipping the self, and self is a subset of Krishna, of spirit soul. Hare Krishna. Some internet issues. Then Pratatvena Bahuda, concoct some form of the Supreme and worships that form. This includes demigod worshippers, and discussed in 20 to 25th verse. Then Vishwato Mukham accepts the universal form as a supreme. It is best among all these, and consider universe to be supreme organism and worship that. Such a person cannot conceive of anything beyond this material manifestation. So in other words, these are the people who do understand there is some supreme power, and they're like in order. Just like Einstein, he said, when you look at the space and when you study the space, you come to an understanding that there is an intelligent creator behind it. That is what it refers to Vishwatamukhamu. Oh, there is something going on which is far beyond our conception, like that. So now text number 16 to text number 20 talks about the worshippers of Vishwathomukham. Let's take a look quickly at it. Let me see if I have something on the slide. Krishna is a supreme object of worship. So Arjuna thought, my dear Lord, how can somebody worship you as a Vishwarup, in the Vishwarup form? So Krishna speaks about it in verse number 16 to verse number 19, how to recognize Krishna in his universal form and how to serve him. All right, let's take a look. Aham krato aham yagya swadhaham aham aushadam mantro aham eva aham agnir aham. Healing how the transcendental chant, I am the butter, the fire, and the offering. I am, in essence, everything. Text number 17. Pitaham asya jagato matadata pitamaha Vedyam pavitram omkara riksam yajrevacha. I'm the father of this universe, the mother, the support, the grandsire, the object of knowledge, the purifier, the syllable Om. I am also the Rig, Sam, and Yajur Vedas, like this. Prabhupada writes in the first few lines. Let's read the first part of the purport. Madan Sundar, just read the first 5-6 lines of the purport. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, the entire cosmic manifestations, moving and non-moving, are manifested by different activities of Krishna's energy. In the material existence, we create different relationships with different living entities who are nothing but Krishna's marginal energy. Under the creation of Prakriti, some of them appear as our father, mother, grandfather, creator, etc. But actually, they are parts and parcels of Krishna. As such, these living entities who appear to be our father, mother, etc. are nothing but Krishna. In these words, the Data means creator. Not only are our father and mother parts and parcel of Krishna, but the creator, grandmother and grandfather, etc. are also Krishna. Actually, any living entity being part and parcel of Krishna is Krishna. All the Vedas therefore aim only towards Krishna. Whatever we want to know through the Vedas is but a progressive step towards understanding Krishna. That subject matter which helps us purify our constitutional position is especially Krishna. Similarly, the living entity who is inquisitive to understand all Vedic principles is also part and parcel of Krishna, and as such is also Krishna. In all the Vedic mantras, the word Om, called the Pranava, is transcendental sound vibration and is also Krishna. And because in all the hymns of the 4 Vedas, Sama, Yajur, Rig and Atharva, the Pranava or Omkara is very prominent, it is understood to be Krishna.
To be Krishna, Krishna and Krishna. So that is the essence of it. And that is how this Bhagavad Gita becomes, Hare Krishna. That is how this Bhagavad Gita becomes very easy to be, to follow through because of Srila Prabhupada writing. 1 second, somebody is unmuted. So His Holiness Bhadrinath Maharaj recently in his Bhagavatam class, he was making an interesting point. And he said his elder brother was an English professor or a teacher. And he was quoting his time when he was a young boy, not a young boy, he was a college-going student. And he got a copy of Bhagavad Gita, he was reading it. So his elder brother, who was an English teacher or a professor, what I'm going to call it, when he visited his hostel room, he saw on the table Bhagavad Gita as it is. And he said, whatever his name was, Dan, David, whatever name. He said, oh, you're reading Bhagavad Gita as it is? So Bhadrinath Maharaj, as a young man that time, said, yes, I'm reading Bhagavad Gita. And his elder brother immediately responded, it is very easy to understand. This guy made it too easy to understand this Bhagavad Gita. So Bhadrinath Maharaj was saying the beauty of Srila Prabhupada, although he was a hardcore atheist, but he also appreciated that, this whole Bhagavad Gita is very simple, has been made simple by the writing style of Prabhupada. So here the subject matter, the 16, again, if you look at the verses and the Sanskrit, it somehow becomes a little complicated, exactly what's going on. But Prabhupada put in just is nothing but everything is Krishna. Although the discussion is going about universal form, Prabhupada is not talking about universal form. Prabhupada is talking directly about There's a discussion going about Krishna. Text number 18 and 19. Gate Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasha Sharanam Surat Pravaha Pralayhastanam Nidhanam Bijam Avyam. I am the goal, sustainer, master, witness, abode, refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation, annihilation, the basis of everything, the resting place, and the eternal seed. Text number 19. Tapami ham varsham nigranami usrajami cha amritam jaiva mrityuscha sad asachaham Arjuna. O Arjuna, I give heat, I withhold, send forth the rain, I am immortality. I am also death personified, both spirit and matter are in me. Madhurati Manjari, read the purport.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, I'm
Yes.
audible?
Very well.
Please accept my humble obeisances. Purport of text 18, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
19.
19. Purport of text 19, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Krishna, by his different energies, diffuse heat and light through the agency of electricity and the sun. During summer season, it is Krishna who checks rain from falling from the sky, and then during the rainy season, he gives unceasing torrents of rain. The energy which sustains us by prolonging the duration of our life is Krishna, and Krishna meets us at the end as death. By analyzing all these different energies of Krishna, one can ascertain that for Krishna there is no distinction between matter and spirit, or in other words, he is both matter and spirit. In the advanced stage of Krishna consciousness, one therefore makes no such distinctions. He sees only Krishna in everything.
Go ahead.
Since Krishna is both matter and spirit, the gigantic universal form comprising all material manifestations is also Krishna, and his pastimes in Vrindavana as two-handed Shyam Sundara playing on a flute are those of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
So since Krishna is both matter and spirit, the gigantic universal form comprising all material manifestation is also Krishna. So Prabhupada is putting a simple logic. If Krishna is matter and spirit, then this gigantic universal form, which is made of all matter, is also Krishna. Like that, Vishwatumukam. Now, text number 20. So here, how do we see Krishna as universal form? In universal form, that was Arjuna's question, was briefly discussed in verse number 16 and 20. Or another way you want to talk about it, other way you want to look at it, the 16 to verse number 19 particularly talks about, the second three kinds of worshippers. So those who in Ekatvam concept, who want to worship themselves as a supreme, 11th and 12th was spoke about them. And 16 and 19 talked about those worshippers who approach universal form, considering universal form to be supreme. Now, what about those who concoct any form to be supreme or who consider Devatas to be supreme? Text number 20 and 21 talks about them. What it says? Trai vidyamam somapa puta papa yagne rishtva swagatim prartyanti te punyamasadya surandra lokam ashnanti divyandi videva bhogam. Those who study the Vedas, Krishna speaking to Arjuna, and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planets of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. So, I hope you remember this point. These three worshippers are indirectly worshipping Krishna only. So once again, Krishna is saying here, those who study Vedas, etc., they worship me indirectly. And what happens? They, at the end of it, they go and attain because of performing piety. They attain to the heavenly planets, they go there. The question arises, do they stay there forever? Do they enjoy heavenly delights forever? Text number 21 answers. But Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam shine punyamrityalokam vishanti evam tridharmam anuprapanna gata agatam kama kama labante shine punya mrityalokam vishanti. Shine matlab khatam hona, kya punya? The moment their punya, their piety is exhausted, Shine punya mritya lokam vishanti. Vishanti means enter. Where do they enter? They enter mrityu lok, which means the earthly planetary system. Translation: When they have thus enjoyed the vast heavenly sense pleasure and the result of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of these three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. How many of you have sat on a Ferris wheel? If you have been from North India, the Shara time when you had Ram Leela festival, so there are all this different fun activities would be there, and there used to be this Ferris wheel. It's a big circular thing. So if in case you happen to sit next time, you can recite these two verses, read these two verses while going through Ferris wheel. The piety you performed, you go up, and your piety is exhausted, you come down. This is how the Ferris wheel goes on. And how many of you have experienced when you're going up, there is a sense of excitement. And when you come down, there is a sense of fear. You remember that? पेट में गुल होना शुरू हो जाता था. So you're getting a little experience of what's going to happen if you can stay stuck in this Ferris wheel of going up and going down. So this is not worth it. That is what Prabhupada writes in the puppet. Text number 2, Lord Shri Krishna, however, gives an assurance to his devotees. And what Krishna says, let's see, I should have the verse on my slides. Yes, I do have it. And Krishna says, Ananya chintayanto mam ye jana parupasate tesham nityabhuktanam yogashemam vahamiham. Very important shloka, the Lord's assurance. Ananyas chintayanto mam, those who are engaged, ananyas. Without ananyas means no distraction, ananyas chintayanto, without any other distraction, Chintayantama, focused on me. Ye jana upasate, worship me. Tesham nitya abhyuktanam. Tesham, nitya means always. Tesham means of those. Nitya, always. Abhyuktanam, fixed in devotion. Yoga shemam vahamiham. For such a person, yoga shemam vahamiham, whatever they lack, I provide. Whatever they have, shemam, I protect. Vahami aham, I do that. It's a very fantastic verse. Let's take a look at the translation. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So there's in the story of Arjuna Acharya, one very great Acharya is described in this context. It is mentioned that when he was copying the verses, making another copy of Bhagavad Gita, long ago, this is, when you have to hand type everything. So he came across this verse. He was a great devotee of the Lord, a poor mendicant Brahmana. And when he read this verse, he was like, Yoga Shema Vahamiham. Everything is okay. Vahami Aham. Krishna says, I will protect. So now, we have just read up to now, Krishna is the Supreme Personality Godhead. He is the source and the master of both matter and spirit. The Maya Shakti and the internal energy, all are but his energies. So it's like, why would Krishna, the Supreme Master, has to come and personally do himself? So he changed this verse and he struck off the word Vahami Aham. He said, no, it cannot be that Krishna does it himself. What he did? He struck it and he wrote, I get it done. I get it done. Here Krishna says, Vahamiyam, I protect, I preserve. And what Arjuna Acharya says, no, it cannot be correct. Krishna, why would? He said, I get it done, which means through my energies, I get it done. Like that, Arjuna Acharya, he struck off this word and he went off to go for Madhukari to get some, grains so that his wife can cook. So when he went out, just after a short time, 2 young boys, very, very beautiful looking young boys came at the door of the cottage or the hut of this Arjuna Acharya ji, and he knocked on the door, and the wife of Arjuna Acharya opened the door, and these 2 boys are holding a big tokri, you can say, of grains. And they said, Arjuna Acharya have asked us to send it to you, give it to you, we have brought it, please take it. And the wife, when she looked at these 2 boys, one was of a dark complexion, one was of a pure white complexion, she was mesmerized and she said, oh, what a wonderful boys, where have you come from? Why didn't you come? Why didn't you honor prasadam? You brought the grains. I'll cook it and I'll offer you also. You brought so much charity. And the boy is trembling in a fear-stricken voice. He said, no, no, mother, we cannot do this. We cannot stay here. Your husband is a very angry man. He was beating us. He bet us actually. He was so angry at us, for not bringing the charity here, etc., etc. So the wife was so shocked. She said, "Oh, Arjunacharya, I've never seen him speaking angrily. How can he ever beat anyone?" And so the boy said, "You don't believe us? Please take a look." And the one particularly with the dark complexion boy, he took off he had put a chadar on his upper body. He took off the chadar and he showed the back. And there was a mark of the sticks beating on his back. And the wife was shocked. And the boy said, "Mother, you take this charity and we'll run away because we are very fearful of your husband Arjunacharya. If in case he comes and finds us here, we are a little worried that he might beat us again." So wife, what can she say? The boys ran away. And the wife was so angry. She said, "How can Arjunacharya do like this? Beat such two innocent boys?" So she went, she cooked. And then after some time, Arjunacharya came. And to the utter shock of Arjunacharya, he comes back and he's surprised. He has not seen anything like this ever before. And he sees his wife is sitting and honoring prasadam. This is a culture when, the wife would serve the husband and then honor it. And Arjunacharya said, "My dear wife, what had happened to you today? Why there is a transgression in etiquette? Why are you honoring before I came and honored it?" The wife became angry. She said, "How dare you ask me a question? Let me ask you a question first of all. How dare you hold a stick and beat two innocent boys?" And Arjunacharya was totally confused. He said, "What boys? Who did I beat? I never hold a stick in my hand. I just went out for asking for Madhukari, took a bath and came back, and I just brought some grains. By the way, tell me, from where did you got all these grains to cook for yourself?" And the wife was confused. So then Arjunacharya asked, "Can you please give me the description of these two boys?" And the wife said, there was this one boy of dark complexion, of a rain cloud, and the other boy was like a pure white complexion. They looked so amazing, so beautiful. I've never seen any two beautiful boys like this. Then something struck to Arjunacharya. Oh, this sounds something familiar. What happened? And then he asked, "What happened to those?" And then wife said, "They told me that you were so angry that you bet those two boys, and they showed the stick marks, beating marks on their back." And Arjunacharya was wondering, beating marks? I bet them. What happened? And then when he went to the memory lane, he realized before going off to do Madhukari, he had striked off a word in Bhagavad Gita. And when he went there, he saw that, so he had striked off. But when Krishna and Balaram had come, they had erased that striking mark. So he understood that Krishna and Balaram had personally come, and they came to the house and they wanted to actually tell me that, yes, the Lord's assurance is there for the devotee. I personally come, I am personally involved in the life of a devotee. So very, very beautiful example comes here of Arjunacharya. Shema refers to, so to look at the last few lines of the purport, by the mercy of the Lord, such a devotee can never comes back to the material condition of life. Shema refers to the merciful protection of the Lord. The Lord helps the devotees to achieve Krishna consciousness by yoga. And when he becomes fully Krishna conscious, the Lord protects him from falling down to a miserable condition. Hundreds and hundreds of examples can be given in not going, when the life is not going the way we want it for ourselves, and when the going gets tough. In those situations, these are the verses that really strengthens our faith, that holds on to our faith, or to the lotus feet of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Poor internet connection. Am I audible to all of you? Voice is breaking. Yeah, what to do? Some internet issues here. So these are these kind of verses who really that strengthens our devotion. So in other words, many times devotees ask, "Oh, what will happen at the end of life if we don't remember Krishna? We are put into different situation. Would Krishna force his way to help us remember?" Krishna says, "Yes. Yoga Shema Vahami Ham." Is Lord's assurance. Whatever happen, I will protect. Not only Lord assurance, even Srila Prabhupada's assurance is there that Srila Prabhupada will protect. One quick example is coming to my mind, that how one devotee, this is from Russia story, I move forward. Just recently, a devotee in Russia who was a book distributor. But later on, somehow he fell away from his devotional practice, got into some bad habits because of the influence of Kali, which is at times unavoidable, very powerful. And because of that, okay. Hare Krishna. So sound is still not going okay? The admins.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. Prabhu, in between it is breaking.
Voice is breaking, Prabhu, in between.
Okay, so let me try switching out the camera. Okay, so you all can switch off your cameras and I'll also do it. Maybe the bandwidth okay. Is it okay now? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Right. So this devotee at the end of his life was bedridden. At that point, this is a story of his where he says, he survived through that particular situation, and he said, when I was at my, we hear about not clear. Hare Krishna. What's going on with the sound? Is it okay or still bad?
Prabhu, voice is dragging and also breaking now. I mean, it's not very clear.
It's better, Prabhu, now.
Okay, why don't we try? Why don't we everyone switch off their cameras for a second? Maybe if it affects overall bandwidth, we can try for that. Hey, don't run away after switching. Huh? Okay. So, Haribol, is it okay now?
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare
It's okay,
Yes,
Prabhu.
Prabhu, it's fine.
Okay. So, anyways, okay, fine. So we'll discuss like this for a while and then we'll see. The sound is coming. So anyways, long story short, for this devotee, we have an example of Vishnu Dutta comes for Ajamil and protects him. For this devotee, Srila Prabhupada came and protected him. That's the point I want to make. I'll move forward now. So that's the point. He said, I saw Prabhupada. Prabhupada came and chased away Yamdutas and others. He said, no, nobody can touch him like that, and like that he was protected. So the point I wanted to make, there's a Lord assurance and we have a double protection. We have Srila Prabhupada's assurance. So we are doubly fortunate in that situation. So that's the highlight of this verse. Now text number 23 and 24 talks about, and 25 talks about, 23 to 25, that how not all, you take any path, you get to the same destination. That is not correct. Let's take a look at text number 23. Ye apyanya devata bhakta yajante shraddhayanvitaha te api mameva kaunteya yajanti avidhipurvakam. Those who are devotees of other gods and worship them with faith actually worship only me, O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way, like that. Avidhi Purvakam. Text number 24. Aham hi sarva yajnanam bhokta cha prabhureva cha na tumam abhijananti tattvenatascha vayanti te. Krishna says, I am the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. Therefore, those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature, they fall down like that. Finally, the text number 25. We can read the purport for text number 24, where Prabhupada talks about the different kind of yagyas. Okay, Varsana Kishori Mother Varsana Kishori. Go ahead, please read.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Danvas.
Here it is clearly stated that there are many types of yagnas, performance recommended in the Vedic literature, but actually all of them are meant for satisfying the Supreme Lord. Yagna means Vishnu. In the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that one should only work for satisfying Yagna or Vishnu. The perfectional form of human civilization known as Varnas Srama Dharma. It is specifically meant for satisfying Vishnu. Therefore, Krishna says in this verse, I am the enjoyer of all sacrifices because I am the supreme master. Less intelligent person, however, without knowing this fact, worship demigods for temporary benefit. Therefore, they fall down to material existence and do not achieve the desired goal of life. If, however, anyone has any material desire to be fulfilled, he had better pray for it to the Supreme Lord, although that is not pure devotion, and he will thus achieve the desired result.
So Prabhupada is making point, even if you have a material desire, better approach the Supreme Personality of God, Akama Sarva Kamava, Moksha Kama Dharidi. Like that, Prabhupada is making a point here. And text number 25. So long story short, the discussion here is going on. If we worship Devatas, or somebody consider himself to be Narayan for that reason, or somebody worships the universal form, these all are indirect worship of the Supreme Personality Godhead. And the fallacy, the pitfall of indirect worship is such that in whichever path of these you take, you will not be successful. Even if you get some success, ultimately it is within this realm of the, and even a demigod worshipper falls down. Those who are envious of Krishna, what to say of them? They're put into hellish condition life, etc., etc. Text number 25. If you worship Devta, you go to their place. If you worship Pitras, you go to their place. If you worship Bhutas, you go to their place. And if you worship Krishna, to his place. That's what text number 25 says. Destination of different worshippers are being described. Yanti deva vrata devan pitrayanti privataha bhutani bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti madhyajino pimam. Translation: those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors, and those who worship ghosts and spirit will live among such beings, and those who worship me will live with me. So Prabhupada talks about what is this Bhutani Yanti Bhuteja. This refers to the black magic or black arts or tantric worshippers. Prabhupada writes about it, Pishash worshippers. So there is something called a Tantra Shastras. So mode of ignorance, some of that text comes into it, where they talk about how to worship Bhutas, Pretas, to derive certain mystic opulences like that. So that's a discussion in this set of verses. Let me see if I can share my screen quickly here. Yeah. So if you take a look at this set of verses here, among all this 11 to 25 verses, there are 2-3 verses that stood out. One is the 13th and the 14th verse, which talked about Mahatmas, who are the Mahatmas, and the activities of Mahatma. And the 22nd verse, where Krishna talked about his assurance. So I want to do a little exercise here, and maybe after that we can go for a break before we start with the last section of this chapter 9. So text number 22nd says once again, those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So my question for all of you, this is a worthy of discussion because this is something where we want to focus, that have we have an experience of it. So question for all of you, do you have any experience where you felt Krishna protected what you had and provided what you lacked? In other words, he preserved what you had and he carried what you lacked. Any quick thoughts onto it? Any examples? So everyone can lower down their hands and then raise it, because there are already many hands are up. So okay, Madhav Kripapu, okay, he disappeared. Okay, yeah, you came back. All right, Madhav Kripapu, please share. Eagerly looking forward to hear some of this.
Prabhuji, there are many instances in my life where I felt that, I got...
So, yeah, Madhav Kripapu, 1 second. For everyone's perusal, till the time Madhav Kripapu shares one or two incident, please take it as a very worthy discussion. And I request you, at the back of your mind, you can think of 1 or 2 incidents, the most prominent incident, because all of us would have had an experience in our life where we saw that how Krishna is actually orchestrating in our life. So till the time Madhav Kripapu speaks, you can think, and we can have few inputs from all of you. Yes, Madhav Kripapu, go ahead.
Both in personal and professional lives, Prabhuji, many a times I feel that I got much more than what I deserved. And I have seen that many a times, like whatever my capability is, Krishna has, increased it multiple times at times to give me something which probably I don't deserve. Whether it is career, I didn't, made any plans, but some things unfolded in such way that it has given me a lot of confidence in my life that whatever happens for good. And there are many plans which we make, but Lord has better plans for us. So we should trust them and move ahead in life. In short, that's what I can share.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll share a quick recent incident from our Kiev, Ukraine, where the war is going on. So the Ukraine leader was sharing that example. I hope it's all clear now. The voice is breaking. I'll switch off the video then. Is going on fine right now? Okay, okay. So very interesting thing he said. He was giving a report about Ukraine, what's the situation of ISKCON outreach. At the end of it, he made a share which was really heart-moving. He said our devotees were going out for prasadam distribution in Kiev, I believe that's the capital. And when they would go out for prasadam distribution, they would always carry books, Prabhupada books. Halfway through the journey, now imagine your city has been bombed already, and to go to any place which will be, okay, I better switch off the camera. Okay, so they're going for prasadam distribution, and along with that, they'll also keep books to distribute Prabhupada. So halfway through the journey, now this is not a journey through our regular city. The city has been bombed, so much risk anyways they have taken. Halfway through the journey, they realized they forgot the book box. And what to do? Now, how can we go into prasadam distribution of Prabhupada books? The Prabhupada books is going to bring about a transformation. So they were in a fix. They had already traveled several miles away from the place where they had come. And it wasn't very easy to travel around. So those two devotees were beginning, they were going to chant. One devotee said, no, we should go for prasadam distribution. What a big problem. What a big deal if you don't Prabhupada book today. I said, no, how can we go? All right, let's go back and get Prabhupada book. They drove back and they got Prabhupada book, and when they were coming back, this whole ordeal has taken almost 45 minutes to close to 50 minutes. And when they were 50 minutes, they are 50 minutes delayed from their service of distributing prasadam at a spot which they had finalized. When they were coming back, at that point of time, they got to know the spot which they had selected for doing prasadam distribution. Just around half an hour before, got shelled by Russian army. Was bombed by the Russian army. And the devotee was saying, the Prabhupada saved the lives of this devotee, because if it was not for book distribution, if it was not for Prabhupada books, they would not have gone back. And we would have lost these two fantastic devotees in that shelling like that. Okay, yes, go ahead. Somebody else, Sudhir Prabhu. Let's hear your story.
Hare Krishna,
You're unmuted. Go ahead quickly.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So, it's a difficult question. Like you asked a few, Prabhu. I have hundreds actually. So one thing I noticed is like how protection is assured, and he protected us. But how he protected me is like, see, I was going in a bike and I was going in like an 80-kilometer speed. It's a and I don't know, before I met a major accident, before I met an accident, like 5 minutes before, I don't know, mysterically I started chanting Narsimha mantra. I continued chanting mantra. I don't know how I started chanting. And during my chanting, I went and hit my bike to a car. I just fell down almost like 20-30 feet away. And then even the policeman who was just passing nearby came and told me, like, I thought you were dead. I am surprised how you were like still living. My face was full of blood. My complete bike almost like dismantled. And mysteriously, when I felt, helmet broke away. And I don't know how I got the Lord's name. I just chanted Ram, and I woke up. I woke up with full blood, and I was I didn't feel like I fell down. And after which I went to the doctor. No single, like no fractures, nothing, just a small air crack on the hand, and one switcher on the bottom of my bed. That's it. Similarly, another time I was going in a car. I don't know why I started chanting. Why I felt of chanting. I started taking my small counter and started chanting Hare Krishna, and I slept. And immediately in that sleep, I chanted Krishna, and car was about to get into the divider, and it was on the road.
Yeah. Yeah, correct. I mean, I have my own stories of how I'm still surviving, sometimes because lack of sleep and I'm driving. I've been into almost literally head-on collisions. One day while driving from Hinjawadi back to NVCC, my car ran over the divider. you know, it was just somehow, so correct. Many incidents. When you look at it, you're like, yeah, there's no way you would have survived. No way you would have survived. Correct. All right. Well, is there anyone else? One last comment from anyone want to share? Or we'll go for a break. Chaitanya Bhagwan, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Rather than incident, Prabhu, as we always hear from our acharyas, especially on this issue, that it is basically many times because of our conditioned nature, perception of like what is being protected is our external situations in terms of our like health or money, or what is really our real devotion is being protected. So I will request you if you can just put some more on that line, because many a times externally, say getting saved or whatever it is, those become in our condition. So but if you can just throw some more light in terms of...
Correct. Wonderful point. So one aspect is that actually builds our faith, even those situations. Now here he's talking about external situations are okay. What about what Krishna protects? That protects means our faith. Krishna protects our faith also. There are many ways can be looked at, just like in second chapter, Krishna says, Neha vikramanashasi pratyavayana vidyate swalpamasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Even our minuscule devotional service can protect you from the greatest danger. So the Lord's assurance here is not only about your physical well-being, but also on your devotional well-being. Krishna protects our spiritual life. For example, there was this devotee who was serving in Los Angeles during Prabhupada's time, and he was doing this services. Saurabh, please come over. You can close the door, please. Yeah, please. The class is on. You take it here. All right, please take a seat. So what I was saying, so this devotee, he was serving in the temple.
Connect with the audio, connect.
And
Prabhu, your voice is breaking, Prabhu. Cannot.
Krishna, the audio is still having an issue?
Yeah, now, yes, breaking.
Yes, all of your cameras. Internet. It's just not working well. Why don't we do one thing? Let's go for a break. And I'll answer Chaitanya Bhagwan Prabhu's question. I was giving a story in a short while. And we'll go for a break and we'll see trying fixing our internet. Is that okay? So it's around 2:15.
Fine, Prabhu.
We'll come back after how much time? I don't know. 7 minutes. Okay. 2:27. No, what? 15. So 2:22. So we'll come back after 7 minutes and we'll continue our discussion that time. So I would sign out for a second just to see what's going on with the internet here. Okay. Yes, Ramesh, got the point. I'll look into that also. Thank you. And Madam Medhavni, I'm making you a host so that the stream goes on. Hare Krishna. See you all in another 7 to 8 minutes.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Guru Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathannitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Sri Visakhanikam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Is this going okay now?
Perfectly loud and clear, Prabhu. Haribol.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I could have rebooted the router before also, but we messed it up. So we'll go forward. Kind of took a lot of time today. I don't know what all you really could get it. So we're talking about Chaitanya Bhagavan Prabhu had asked for a question about how Lord's protection. So Lord's protection is there in any and every situation. At times we fail to recognize it, even to a fact that we are practicing devotees is just because the Lord's caused us mercy. Our ability to chant the holy names of the Lord, that's Lord's mercy, like that. And I was giving an example how during Srila Prabhupada's time, there was one young American boy who had joined and he was doing services, but he got fed up and he thought, okay, let me leave. And he left. And he thought, I was been living in temple. I was so much caught up into so much rules and regulation, etc., etc. To give an example of rules and regulation within, ISKCON culture, a monk life, there was another incident that happened in Los Angeles, and there was some drug peddler, a mafia. He had gone to sell drugs to a neighbor, and suddenly the police raided the house. So this person ran from that house, went to another house. The police raided that house also. And between these two houses is ISKCON temple. He went and entered ISKCON temple thinking that the police would not come to the ISKCON temple. He went and hid there, and he stayed there for a month because there was a curfew all around to search for this peddler. He stayed there for a whole complete 1 month, like that, thinking that, and he entered that place. When he knocked on the door, the temple president opened and all that. He said, "Yeah, I'm kind of new here. I've come to know what you all teach and everything." And he started living like one of us. So he would go to sleep at 9:30, get up in the morning at 3:30, attend morning program. He had to chant. Now he's staying around with the devotees. So he did like this for 1 month, and finally, after 1 month, he was caught. When he was caught, he was brought in front of the judge, and judge asked him for his crime and all that. And that happened. He asked him, where were you hiding and all that? So he said, I was hiding in ISKCON temple. The police said, and so what was your life in ISKCON? So he said, well, the life at ISKCON was like, we'll go out whole day, distribute book, come back and sleep at 9 or 10 o'clock. And we had to wake up in the morning at 3 o'clock or 3:30, get up early in the morning, and we are not allowed for meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex, falana dikan. He said all that. And the judge said, oh my goodness, that life is worse than a hell. You don't need to come back to the prison because prison is far better for you. You should go back to the ISKCON ashram. So he gave him a punishment for 1 year to go and stay back in the ashram and live there, prohibitory kind of on his travel like that. So anyways, this young man who has moved to Los Angeles temple, he was feeling choked after a while. He thought enough is enough. Let me go out and on the Los Angeles beach, let me go for surfing. He went out on a surfing, and lo and behold, on that day, he was attacked by a whale. The big fish is right in front of him, and he was like, oh no, all my life I went for surfing, but today I'm really experiencing the suffering because I'm going to get eaten by this whale. And whatever he remembered in his mind, he began to chant, Radha Krishna, please save me, Nasimha Aarti. Nothing could save him. Finally he said, my dear Lord, if you can protect me this time, I promise you all my life, I'll serve you. Somehow he was saved. He came back, and he again went back to temple, and he's still serving up to today as a pujari of our deities in Los Angeles temple. Anyways, the long story short, there are different ways Lord Krishna's assurance gets manifested. It gets manifested in the form of Vaishnava association. If somebody is getting distracted, Krishna would arrange some devotees to come and help us out. There are many, many ways. Sometimes we can understand, sometimes we cannot understand. But the point I wanted to highlight from this 22nd verse here in this context is, whenever the life's journey becomes difficult, this is where we want to come and take shelter of, and try to see through the storm, that how beyond the storm there is Krishna who's trying to still sail our ship across the ocean, not to lose hope. And if in case we are becoming blinded by that storm, and then take onto the shelter of seniors who can help us see through that storm, that how everything is temporary. Don't worry, the storm is not going to be forever. Beyond the storm, there is a very pleasant and calm ocean waiting for you, but just hold on to it. That's the point here. So after having all this discussion, my presentation can work great. Let me just do a quick few things. So our admins can request our students to keep their camera on. The privilege which they had to switch off their camera is not there anymore now, because the bandwidth is working fine. So please do that. All right. Where is my presentation? Yeah, here it is. So then after that, we discuss about downfall of demigod worshippers. Krishna says from text number 20, 21, and then 23, 24, 25, people worship devatas, but it is avidhi purvakam. And ultimately, whatever they worship, whoever worship what, according to that, they get result. And even if they get heavenly planets, heavenly pleasure, they fall down. Now comes the last section. That is G, glories of devotional service, from verse number 26 to 34. I will go through the verses now. I will not show the slide deck because we have around 35 minutes approximately. I want to be a little quick, make an attempt to cover this section today if possible. So text number 26. So now this section which begins from text number 26, Lord Shri Krishna. So in 25 verse, we saw there were different options. Or in other words, from verse number 11 to 25, there are three different kind of worshippers were discussed. You can be a Ekatvena, you can be Pataktvena, you can be Vishuddhamukam, you can be worshipper of any of this. Or else you can become worshipper of Krishna. You can surrender to Krishna. To make us the best choice, or to help us make the right choice, what we should do? Should we become a worshipper of Ekatvena, Prataktvena, Vishuddhamukam, or of Krishna? To help us make the right choice, Lord Shri Krishna speaks, verse number 26 to verse number 34. This is how Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur explains. Let's take a look at text number 26. So here with the given time, I'm just going to look through the verses and quickly through the purport. And next time we'll have more detailed discussion. But let's quickly do the summary of this set of verses quickly today. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tad aham bhakti uphritam ashnami prayatatmanaha. Once again, detailed discussion will be next time, but let's do an overview here. So text number 26, Krishna says, Patram pushpam phalam tvayam, yome bhaktya prachati. Patra means leaf, pushpa means flower, phalam means fruit, tvayam means water. Prachati is to offer. Uparatam as a gift. Ashnami, I accept. Prayatatmanaha. So Lord Shri Krishna says, if you offer him fruits, flowers, water, a leaf, vegetable like that, Krishna accepts it. So Srila Prabhupada's purport discusses many points, which we shall take next time. But here, just to point on this, if you take a look at it, isn't bhakti so simple now? Even if you don't have a garden, you can go and pluck some flowers from the neighbor's garden. Even neighbor would not mind. And just offer to Krishna. This becomes bhakti. We all eat vegetables, just offer to Krishna. This becomes bhakti, devotional service. And that is what paves the way for perfection of life. So, a quick question to all of you. How many of you agree now bhakti is very simple? Please raise your hand. Can anything get more simpler than this? How many of you agree with me bhakti is simple? Okay, raise a real hand. Virtual hand is confusing me. Raise a physical hand because I'm looking at all of you. Are you sure bhakti is simple? Is there anyone who disagree right now here? Bhakti is not simple? So those who say bhakti is not simple, raise your hand now. Those who say bhakti is not simple, now you raise your hand. Okay, I'm really not getting it. What's happening here? Some people are saying, okay, bhakti is not simple. See, when does Krishna accept your offering? When it is offered with pure consciousness, with devotion. If it is offered with devotion, then Krishna would accept it. So how many of us have pure devotion here? Raise your hands. How many of us have pure devotion, pure consciousness? So raise your hand. So now if that is the case with you, the Krishna will accept your offering. Bhakti becomes very simple. Well, if that's not the case, bhakti is not that simple. So anyways, the point here is, bhakti in itself is very simple. What we need to do, we need to keep a sadhya in front of our mind. And sadhya is to serve and please Krishna, Guru, Vaishnava and Krishna. If that objective is very clear, with that intention, when we make an offering, not with an intention that I want to eat pizza today. Krishna, you accepted, huh? What to do? My Guru have said not to eat anything without offering you. So kindly, you do accept it. If you like or not like, that is not my business. My business is to offer you, you take it. So there is a huge gulf of difference in intention now, isn't it? So when it is offered with intention, my dear Krishna, this is for your pleasure, and I accept it as a prasadam, your mercy to me. That becomes bhakti. So bhakti is simple. The problem is, there is a problem with our intentions here. There's a problem with our mindset. Like that, Prabhupada talks about it. So, but in one sense, to please Krishna is not a challenge, because Krishna is not asking anything. Krishna is pleased even if you offer one tulsi leaf. Krishna is pleased if you offer one flower to him. So now let me ask a question to all of you. How many of you would say pleasing Krishna is easy or pleasing your spouse is easy? Which is more easy? How many of you say pleasing spouse is more easier than pleasing Krishna? Even whatever your spouse asks you, you give, yet your spouse will not be happy. you know, so Krishna is easy, right? Serving Krishna is very easy. That's the point here. So just have the right intention, that becomes easy. That's the point which mentioned here. Prabhupada highlights about the importance of offering Krishna bhoga and honoring as a prasadam. As I said, those details we'll discuss next time. All right. Now text number 27. So what goes on text number 27? So Arjuna had a doubt. He thought, my dear Lord, because you're saying bhakti, what if I don't have that, so if I don't have that pure devotion to serve you, what's the possibility? Krishna says, all right, no problem, perform nishkam karma yoga. Text number 27. Yat karosi yadasnasi yajjuhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kanteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Whatever you eat, whatever you do, yat karosi yadasnasi, whatever you honor, yet juhosi dadasiyat, whatever you offer, give away, yet tapasyasi, whatever austerities you perform, Kante or son of Kanti, tat kurashva madarpanam, perform it for me as an offering to me, like that. So Krishna says, all right now your intentions are not pure, but your actions can be pure. In other words, whatever you perform, do it for me. So if you want to eat, no problem, you offer it to me and then eat it. That much can be done. So I want to eat pizza, no problem, you eat pizza, but before you eat pizza, you offer to Krishna and then accept as a mercy. That is easy. So our intentions are not pure right now, but our actions can be purified by offering it to Krishna. Whatever we want to do, whatever we eat, whatever we offer, and whatever austerities we perform, if we can do it in relationship to Krishna, then Krishna says that becomes bhakti. Prabhupada, right? That is the duty of everyone to mold his life in such a way that he will not forget Krishna in any circumstances like that. Okay, what will be the result if I do like this? If I perform my actions in this manner, what will be the result? Text number 28. Shubha shubh phale revam mokshasi karma bandhana. Mokshasi, you get mukti. Of what? Karma bandhana. You will not be bound by the results of your action. Sannyasa yoga yuktatma vimukto mam upeshyasi. Vimukto mam upeshyasi. Upeshyasi means attain. What will happen at the end? You'll get liberated and you'll attain to me. If you perform your actions this way, even by that you get freedom from the karma bandhana and you attain to me. Translation: in this way you'll be freed from bondage to work and is auspicious and inauspicious. With your mind fixed on me and this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come back to me. Then Arjuna thought, my dear Lord, this seems a little awkward. Why? Krishna asked, why was it a little awkward? Arjuna said, my dear Lord, it seems you're a little biased to your devotees. You're saying those who serve you, worship you, they get liberated from karma bandhana. At the end of it, they attain eternity or eternal life by coming back to you, to the spiritual world. What about who are non-devotees? Are you being biased towards the non-devotees? Krishna says, section number 29. Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshu asti na priya e bhajanti tumam bhaktya maite teshu chapi aham. Samo aham. Samo means equanimity. Aham means I. Sarvabhuteshu, towards all living entities. Arjuna, just like sunlight, just like the sun or sun rays, the sun rays do not discriminate. This is the house of a sinner. This is the house of a pious man. This is the house of a Hindu. This is the house of a Muslim. The sun rays falls everywhere. There's no discrimination. Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dvesh. मैं किसी से द्वेष नहीं करता. अस्ति ना प्रिया. नहीं मैं किसी से प्रेम करता हूं. I'm equal to all. Why Krishna can say I'm equal to all? Aham bija prataha pitaha. Because I am the seed-giving father. The father is not partial to anyone. Father is equal to all his sons and daughters. Because everyone is his part and parcel. Yet, although you are equal to all, but one who is obedient to you, you naturally become more affectionate to that person. Are you seeing the difference here, right? You are equal to all. In other words, when it comes to you sacrificing or you doing something for the person, You will now make a discrimination. This is my elder son, this is my younger son. So elder son, I should be more attentive. Younger son, no. I'll be equally taking care of all. But one who's obedient to me or who loves me, but naturally my affection would follow there. So Krishna says, Ye bhajanti tumamaktya. Maite teshu chahap. What can I do, Arjuna? Those who serve me, but naturally I become attracted to them. I'm naturally more attentive to them. Oh, acha, what does it mean? Krishna says, text number 30, what it means. And this is a verse, and the next verse where we would like to a little bit read and discuss, and rest everything else we'll again discuss in detail next time. Text number 30, what it means. Krishna talks about power of bhakti here, and Krishna says, Apiche suduracharo bhajate mam ananyavak. Hare Krishna, Prabhus, can you close the door inside? Apiche suduracharo bhajate mam ananyavak. Sadhureva samantavya samyak vaivasito hisa. So Krishna says, Arjuna, I am equal to all. Yet my affection flows towards those who are affectionate to me. And therefore I kind of tried explaining you in terms of a relationship of a father towards his sons and daughters. To give an example of, the power of bhakti, because the discussion here is, in these verses, the discussion is going around to make a right choice. You want to become a worshipper of Ekatvena, Prataktvena, Vishwatomukam, or Krishna. Don't forget the baseline discussion here. So here the power of bhakti has been described, how bhakti is simple, how powerful it is. Lord Krishna says, Api chesu durachar. Api means although. Api chet durachar. Durachar means durachari. Somebody has performed sinful action. Krishna says, no. Api che sudurachar. Although somebody might have performed, su means the most abominable action. Bhajate mam ananyavag. But yet if he is engaged in ananyavag. Ananyavag means undivided, undisturbed, undistracted, non-deviated. Bhajate mam, if he still bhajate mam, he still serves me. Sadhu revasa mantavya. He should still be considered as sadhu. Samyag vai vasito hisa. Why? Because he is fixed in determination to serving me. Now, this is something very interesting. Arjuna heard it. Arjuna said, no, how can I accept such a person as sadhu? How many of you, I just want to focus on this verse for today. Let's go for a little discussion here. All of you have camera on, and I am intentionally speaking because there are too many unnecessary things keeps going around. And although we are hardly anything in our devotional life, whatever we have done, we burnt it up by committing Vaishnava Aparadh, by not understanding properly. So here my question to all of you is, so Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur writes, Arjuna's reaction was, my dear Lord, I will not accept. This is not fair. Somebody has done such a sinful activity, most sinful activity, yet you say he's Mahatma. So let me ask this question to all of you. This is just, open-ended discussion. I'm not indicating anything, anyone, anywhere. But just ask. Generally, our mindset is of, judgmental. We quickly become judgmental to somebody. And that is all based on a particular vision. A partial vision, not the complete vision. We'll take a look at an incident. For example, Indra. If in any one of us, we would be talking about Indra, often when we hear the word Indra, we think like, oh, that fellow who have done so many mistakes. No, Indra's life is not about mistakes. Indra's life is so long in that he has done some mistakes. But our mind naturally follows through, oh, he has done mistakes, so Indra is susceptible to doing mistakes. So how can be he so great and all that? Nonetheless, we'll talk about that, how Krishna handled Indra's case later on. So if you, I have to ask you, but how many of you agree with this proposition as Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says about Arjuna? Arjuna says, Krishna, I cannot accept it. How can you say somebody who's done an abominable action can still be accepted as Mahatma? How many of you would follow through with Arjuna? You say, yes, I am along with Arjuna. Somebody has done the most abominable action. Maybe he's practicing bhakti still. I cannot call him Mahatma. This is what Arjuna said actually. So how many of you say, correct? I cannot accept him as Mahatma anymore because he has done a blunder. Please raise your hand. Okay, I don't know if I'm asking the right question. I'm getting into controversy here. We're just having open and discussion, nothing. For example, let's take a case of Dashrath Maharaj. How many of you would say Dashrath was at fault? He was a hand-pecked husband of his wife, because of which he allowed Lord Ram, or he ordered Lord Ram to leave Ayodhya. So it was Dashrath Maharaj's mistake. How many of you? Raise your hand now. I'm raising a historical example. I don't want to raise any current situation, but raising. How many of you say, Dashrath Maharaj is at fault? We cannot forgive Dashrath Maharaj for what he did. Raise your hands. Okay. Okay, give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down. I understand my voice is going to you. I'm not getting anything. You all are sitting like a computer in front of me, no reaction. How many say, we would be putting a blame to Dashrath for what happened? If I would have been Ayodhyavasi, I would be cursing Dashrath. You rascal, you hand-packed husband, you lacked control of your senses. You as a king couldn't control yourself. And because of being subdued by your woman, by your wife, and that, how do you say, trickster who tricked you and tricked all of us, and you have deprived all of us of the association of Lord Ram, we cannot forgive you all our life. So how many of you say, if you are an Ayodhyavasi, if that would have happened, Lord Ram has been driven away? So how many of you say, very difficult to forgive Dashrath Maharaj? Raise your hand. Raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand. Okay, how many say, forgiven, no problem. Never mind. Anyways, I'm least bothered about Ram. Doesn't matter really. I have too many things troubling me in my life. Koi baat nahi. So, how many of you say jokes about? How many of you say, no, that's okay. What to do? Mistakes happen. We'll forgive Dashrath. How many of you are here who, if an Ayodhyavasi would forgive Dashrath Maharaj easily? Raise your hand here. Make sure I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you for the reason. Okay, Anadi Anushaman Prabhu. Yes, please go ahead. Let's hear from you. Unmute. Okay. Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanadhanam. So, Prabhuji, in case of Dashrath Maharaj, it was, I think, a kind of a situation.
No. See, you're getting in the wrong direction. Now you know Ramayan. You are an Ayodhyavasi. You don't know the inside story. You don't know the inside story. Because generally, we don't know the full picture. You getting it? We don't know the full picture 200% times. We only know what is presented to us. So what you get to know as Ayodhyavasi, Dashrath have exiled Lord Ram. Who exiled? Dashrath exiled, na? Ultimately, he agreed. Kaiyo mantra ke beech mein kya hua? That is a background story.
Yeah.
Now you tell me, how would you say, no, I forgive Dashrath Maharaj?
Yeah. So, like on the apparent, it might seem like a mistake on his part, but given that he was a devotee of the Lord, there could be accidental mistakes from devotees. But and it could be because of the material conditioning which even devotees have. But because they are on the path of bhakti,
he was a king. For God's sake, how can you say like this? Conditioning. A leader is not supposed to be conditioned. A leader is all pure. He was the king of the whole world, Dashrath Maharaj. If you are talking about you and I, then I can understand, I can forgive my neighbor for his mistake. But you're talking about the king? No, king is meant to be all pure. He cannot be forgiven.
Yeah,
leader cannot be forgiven. How dare he being a leader? How dare he being a guru? How dare he being the temple president make a mistake? Cannot be forgiven.
Yeah, but before being a king, he's also a human, right? So humans have their own material conditioning, so they can err. But provided they are on the right path, it would eventually lead to their purification and kind of doing away of their material conditioning, and they would get purified as well.
All right, thank you. Good, Anadi Krishnan Prabhu. Yes, who would like to answer on this? Raghavendra Prabhu, go ahead. Hear from you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So ultimately, we understand from scriptures the Lord is in the heart of everyone, including Dashrath Maharaj's wife and Dashrath Maharaj. And another spiritual scriptures perspective is individual is not the ultimate doer of everything. There are so many causes for a particular thing to happen. I don't remember all the causes, factors which make a
That's
particular
okay.
incident
That's
happen.
okay. All right.
So those things, even though Dashrath Maharaj is part of the Leela, part of the thing which
See,
happened.
which is correct. Again, what is happening now? We are not drawing something which is practical for us. We are philosophizing that situation because you're not a victim. You getting it? When I'm not a victim, it is very easy to philosophize.
Yeah.
Lord is in the heart of every living entity. Individual is not the doer. There are many factors, etc., etc. But I had put a condition before asking this question. You are an Ayodhyavasi.
Ayodhyavasi, yeah. From Ayodhyavasi's perspective,
I'm
it's
asking
terrible.
that way.
Impossible
So
to
don't
forgive,
speak from the
literally.
third party because it's very easy. Then there's no point of me having a discussion because this is something which I've already taught you. I'm not asking you to repeat that. I want you to be in a situation. Now, this was Apiche Sudaracharo. I'm just going to touch upon one theme right now. Next time we'll take it, another aspect of it. When somebody should not be forgiven. Okay, it is not. Prabhupada very clearly says, our Acharya said, this is not the verse which is meant to be taken for granted. We can do anything and then say, I'm a devotee. I should be forgiven. No, that's not the point. But Dashrath Maharaj example I intentionally quoted because if you are an Ayodhyavasi, Dashrath Maharaj definitely did something big, big blunder actually. To have Lord Ram leave Ayodhya, and Lord Ram leaving Ayodhya means, the life, the prana of Ayodhya left.
Yeah.
Because nobody left behind in Ayodhya. Everyone left. It was the biggest disaster ever Ayodhyavasis have experienced because of one man, Dashrath.
Yeah.
And Krishna says, Sadhu reva samantavya samyugvayasatusa. Why I say so, why I'm talking Dashrath Maharaj? Because Lord Ram never found fault with Dashrath Maharaj. Lord Ram never. Now, let's not call Lord Ram, let's call King Ram, or let's say Prince Ram.
Yeah.
When you bring the aspect of Lord, then divinity, then we cannot learn a lesson. Even as a son, Ram, he did not. And the proof is Dashrath Maharaj was in a situation which was beyond his control. And that is what modes of material nature are. It puts us sometime in a condition, situation which is beyond our control. Dashrath Maharaj was put into a condition because he had given a commitment to Kekai, which was forced to fulfill without even asking her, what do you want? That was a mistake of Dashrath Maharaj. He didn't ask what you want. Before asking only, he was so confident. He said, yes, ask whatever you want. Similarly, as a sadhaka, we may put ourselves in a situation which is not favorable for us and we may get victimized by Maya. And under the subjugation of Maya, then we become a puppet to Maya. Like Dashrath became puppet to Kekai. So you can say Kekai as material energy and Dashrath Maharaj as a sadhaka.
Yeah.
And when the Dashrath Maharaj as a sadhaka went to face Maya, very confidently said, yes, I can handle you. Ask what you want. I promise you, I can handle you, I can do anything. And the Maya says, do this, you're caught. So all of us can get caught like this in situation. But the point was, what was Rama's situation? Rama did not find. Now let's talk about Dashrath Maharaj. Now Dashrath Maharaj, if you see from the perspective of sadhaka, if just elaborate the example, Bhajate Maam Ananya Bhag. He cried tears after tears after tears out of separation of Lord Ram. In fact, he lost his life out of feeling of separation. That is what is being talked about devotee. He had a great sense of repentance. He knew that I've made a mistake. He told Ram, Dashrath told Ram, you do not have to follow my orders. Ram said, you're my father, you're my king. Dashrath said, well, I'm not a king because I already announced you to be a king. So Dashrath said, again, you should not follow. So Ram said, okay, you're not a king, but you're my father. Dashrath said, I'm not your father because the father cannot wish ill for the son. So now I'm not your father also because I am asking you to go away. Can you imagine the sincerity of the purpose of the heart of Dashrath Maharaj? He said, I'm not the king, I'm not the father. You remain. You put me behind bar. I am willing to go for the 14 years of Vanvas. So, the point I'm trying to raise here, giving a little clue of this discussion, maybe if time permits, quickly read the purport also. Again, it is not about those who intentionally misuse this verse. It is about we are living in a world where our own mistake, ultimately is our mistake. Dashrath Maharaj had a mistake, no doubt about it. Sadhaka's mistake, maybe overconfidence or whatnot, we take Maya for granted. And we may put ourselves in a situation where we are not able to handle her in a way that we could. For example, let's say Gajendra and the crocodile. Gajendra was a very powerful elephant. He was the king of the whole jungle. If a fight between Gajendra the elephant and the crocodile would have happened on the land, what do you think would have won? Gajendra would have won it. But Gajendra became weak because the battle took place in the water, which was not his area. So he put himself into an unfavorable situation and he became a victim. Who was at mistake? Gajendra. So mistake is ours. We put ourselves in an unfavorable situation. But even despite doing that, if a person, the point is, all of us are prone to committing mistake. And we have committed a mistake, which is accidental. Maybe because of overconfidence or whatnot, we thought we can handle Maya. And now we have been humbled by Maya. What should be the response of the community towards that person? That is a discussion. Because Krishna is telling, Sadhu Reva Samantavya. Krishna telling Arjuna, such a person should be considered sadhu. To whom is he telling? For Arjuna. Arjuna, such a person has to be considered sadhu, which means the community has to see him. It's a different thing that there could be certain punitive measures of punishment, certain rectification, something. But if as a Vaishnavas we disown another devotee who has become victim of Maya, then what is the hope for all of us? If our real life story comes, imagine, I'm not going to ask anyone to vote here or give any response to it, but for a second, just introspect, genuinely introspect. Who has not become a victim of Maya? Who has not? If our story has to get broadcasted on a YouTube or on the Facebook or whatnot, I mean, who is not? We are dealing with Maya, which is, we are in unfavorable. We are like Gajendra dealing with crocodile represented by Maya in the water. We are in this material which is unfavorable ground. So for one who is himself a struggling sadhaka and now start finding fault with other Vaishnavas who had become victim and start finding fault with them or disown them on that pretext is something which Krishna is saying here, be careful of it. And then Krishna says in the next verse, I'm just not going into the purport because that will take a huge discussion. Next verse, what Krishna says, I don't know, maybe next time I can take it or maybe I'll skip it because our discussion go too long. You read Prabhupada's words. What carefully Prabhupada writes in this purport. Let's take a look at the 31st verse. Krishna says, Shipram Bhavati Dharmatma. Arjun, such a person would immediately, very soon will become situated back into his position as a Dharmatma. Why? Because he has taken a course of repentance. He's extremely sorry for what he did. For such a serious practitioner, Krishna is speaking of that. Again, I'm not speaking in line to justify any wrong action. Is somebody who has become a victim of Maya because of his inattention or overconfidence. At that point of time, community to tag such a person that you're fallen, this and that. For example, one devotee, sannyasi, somebody had got distracted or fallen down. And when Prabhupada got to know that such a such situation happened, and when he came to that community, he saw that all the devotees were criticizing him. Because of that, that devotee left. Prabhupada was so unhappy. Prabhupada said, because of you talking about the devotee's fault again and again, now that person have left Krishna consciousness altogether. That is something, a discretion of a teacher or a guru to decide what to do with a student. You as a community member need to take care of your own things rather than, you need to give a support. For example, we have a case of Chota Haridas. Chota Haridas, according to that time, place, circumstance, did a blunder, which could be considered very big. Did the Vaishnava community disown him? He did a blunder. So if Vaishnava, there is no meaning of Vaishnavas or Vaishnava community if we become like what happens in the world outside. We are looking for an opportunity to find faults. We are looking, let's see when this Vaishnava does a mistake and let's start talking about it. Great. One Vaishnava gone, another Vaishnava gone, third Vaishnava gone. After 2 years, if this way all the Vaishnava goes, I'll be the temple president. Because I'll be the senior most person. What is this? Is mentality going on, na? I'll be the senior most. So it's all envious, which is envy, which is getting manifested and all that various ways it can be looked at it. But Vaishnava community means community. Mistakes happen. We understand, we all are patients, we are here, things happen, and we should act accordingly. Mature community means to understand that not that we are a pure devotee, that mistakes have not happened by us, but to take individual case and really, really rip it apart and talk about it, put it on Facebook, put it on WhatsApp, put it on Instagram, so many things, And there is a proper way, a proper channel of talking about anyone's problem. You start calling people by name. He's child abuser, he's this, he's that. You go out on a public forum, start talking like this. It's so inappropriate, so inappropriate. That's not a part of Vaishnava community. And to conclude with, if we may be part of it or not part of it, but if we start listening to such conversation, we equally culpable. It will destroy our seed of devotion, like that. So for everything, if there is an issue, there is a concern, that should be raised to a proper channel, should be brought to the proper channel, and it should be left onto the discretion of the authorities to make a decision. The problem today, what happens, I'll give an example and then move forward. You see in the world today what's happening. If the decision by, let's say, the Supreme Court, High Court, or whatever agencies you want to call it, if the decision is not according to me, immediately we raise a flag, democracy is in danger, right? That is what the mindset. If you make a decision on me, then it is acceptable. If you don't make a decision on me, then democracy is in danger. Our independence is in danger. That is a point that comes in. So similarly, if the decision has not been made according to what I wanted that person to undergo as a punishment, our leaders are foolish. Our leaders are useless. Our leaders don't know anything. They are spoiling everything. What is this? What is this? We have already discussed in the past. If we are serving Krishna, if we are following Krishna, we have to also learn an example of how Krishna deals with material energy. How he deals with material energy. There is a certain amount of attachment, there's a certain amount of care and all that. That's subject matter. So just want to give you some clues on it. And Krishna says, Shipram bhavati dharmatma, such a person becomes quickly righteous. Shashva shanti nigacchati. And he says, Shri Vishnu Thakur writes, he tells Arjuna, you declare, Kaunteya pratijani name bhakta pranishiti. There is no way my devotee will ever fall down. In other words, would happen anything wrong to him. Arjuna asked, why should I declare? Shri Vishnu Thakur is writing about it. Krishna said, Arjuna, you declare it because I would never let the words of my devotee not get fulfilled. I may not fulfill my vows, but my devotee's vows would always be fulfilled like that. And then text number 32, 32nd verse is also, it's a verse which requires certain discussion. So many times people ask this question, how Striya, ladies are said to be less intelligent. We'll see that next time when we meet. 32nd, 33rd verse talks about, again, the power of bhakti. These are all verses talking about whoever you are, if you practice bhakti or you take to service to the Supreme Person Godhead, you will be situated on the highest platform. In text 34, the essence of all essence, how to do it. Manmana bhava madvakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mam eva shasi yuktavam atmanamat parayana. Engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, worship me, being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come back to me. Like that. So 34th verse of the 9th chapter is the essence of the essence of the essence of all essence. This is what Krishna wants. So somebody asks you what Krishna wants. What is that one thing that Krishna wants from Bhagavad Gita? This is what Krishna wants. This is the essence. And therefore, this is the middle verse of the soul, Bhagavad Gita, like that. So these last few verses, there's so much to discuss on this, so much to reflect on it. I've given you clues. When we come back next week, we'll just have a little more discussion on these last few verses, and then we'll go to the 10th chapter. 10th chapter, I'll try to make it a little quick so that we can finish it in time. What's the point? We become Bhakti Shastri, we have a certificate, we waive our certificate, but we don't understand what Krishna wants us to do. It doesn't serve the purpose. Sorry, that's what my understanding is. So what to do? All right, do read it. If you would have some questions, we can discuss, take up some questions. I would personally like to go through the purport of 30th verse. Not today, time is over, next time. Just want to go through this whole purport just to see what Prabhupada is saying, how to deal with such situations, and then I'll give you something from further reading from Srila Prabhupada's letters on this particular things. How Srila Prabhupada defended his own devotees when certain situations happen like that. All right. With that, I'll pause here. Somebody has some questions, we can open for questions. We have not completed the 9th chapter. We kind of just did an overview of the last few verses, but we'll definitely take a look again in the next week. So those who have questions, they can raise their hand, or if you have comments, if you have some inputs, more than welcome. But before that, I'll just take a quick 1-minute break. Because I gave you a 7-minute break, but I was sitting here fixing internet, so I didn't got my break. I'll just take a 1-minute break and come back, all right? Till the time you can just think further or read through this verses. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Yes, so we can officially call the classes over now. Those who want to ask questions, they can stay back and we can take some questions. Ramesh, Wu and Mother Swapna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dhanvat
Yes,
Pranam.
Dhanvats.
Prabhu, we normally get asked this question. I don't know how to answer this in our preaching. What is actually the Soma Ras that is mentioned in this Bhagavad Gita?
Oh, Gauranga. Yeah.
We always get asked every time.
This
whenever we
question,
again.
I'll tell you who asked. I have been asked this question many times. And those who love bagpiper and those kind of brands here in this world, they particularly are very intrigued, and they only have one inquiry out of whole Bhagavad Gita. सोमा जूस क्या है? तुम हमें सोमा जूस पीने के लिए मना करते हो, और कृष्ण कह रहे हैं सोमा जूस पिया जाता है. So actually, this is the heavenly nectar. You can call it as a drink. I don't know what is intoxicating effects and all that. Ultimately, it is meant. It is something which is being done there. Now, to look at more deeply on the subject matter, I don't know if you can give it as an answer to. If you can answer it as to others. But for our understanding, see, at different levels, there are different things which are allowed and not allowed. For example, when a newborn baby is there, you give him a mother's milk, while the mother may eat aloo paratha, right? Now the child begins to cry, oh, you eat aloo paratha, you give me a milk? This is unfair. No, beta, this is not meant for you. Similarly, if somebody is there of that level, somebody who has been on the heavenly planet has gone there, there is certain things are allowed. The rules and regulation of heavenly planets are very different than what rules and regulation here. I don't want to speak about everything, but some of you would understand, there is not even a progeny born when a man and woman unite there. There are a different set of rules there. So that's what I can say. The Soma juice, our Soma juice is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And the beauty of this Soma juice is its intoxicating effect never dies. It keeps on increasing. And yet nobody is convinced. Then you can get him our Hare Krishna Prasadam, Sunday Feast Prasadam, the intoxicating effect of our sweets. How many of you have got intoxicating after eating our sweets? How many of you have that? You know, I mean, you eat our sweet, my goodness, so rich, you know, so much dry food, so much ghee, so much sugar. खाने के बाद चक्कर आना शुरू हो जाता है. You know, you don't need any other intoxication after eating Krishna Prasadam. All right? Hare
No.
Krishna.
Yeah, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yes, Nitai Pran Prabhu.
Dandatna Prabhu. Am I audible, Prabhu?
Yes, you're audible.
So Prabhu, my question is on the same topic as what we just discussed about some of the great souls coming under the clutches of the Maya. So we have seen even in our ISKCON history as well that GBC has expelled some of the very well-known sannyasis in the past. So what should be our attitude towards those souls? I have seen a Pushpa Samadhis of some of the very well-known sannyasis in Radha Damodar temple. But since GBC has expelled them, what should be our attitude towards those?
See, again, let's go back to Dashrath Maharaj's case. You know, the Avadhyasvasis were not condemning him. You know, so some mistake have happened. As I said, through a proper channel, it has to be brought to the notice of authorities. And authorities makes a decision, we follow the decision. Authorities have not made a decision that we should start cursing them now. This is our decision that we make. What authorities, you know, because mistakes have happened, so what we make, what we want to ensure that the person is not given an opportunity again where he becomes weak and again a problem happens. So he's immediately removed from the position, depending on the situation, the gravity of the incident. He's removed from the position, he may be removed from the local yatra, or he may be removed from his ashram, etc., etc. But as a community, we should have a prayerful mood. We should have a compassionate heart. It doesn't mean you open your doors and you allow. In case if you're a student, you can do so. If you don't know, but we should have a prayer. We should never get into fault finding. Fault finding is nothing but, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says, fault finding is nothing but a favorite pastime of those people who have nothing else to do in this world. They just sit and find fault with others. As a Vaishnavas, what do we learn about the activities of Mahatma? Tesham satata yuktanam. You know, Vajatam Priti Purukam. You know, not that. The 9.14. You know, Tesham satata yuktanam was the verse on, you know. I just kept it. Krishna says, always chant. Satatam kirtayanto mam. Yatantascha dradvataha. This is what the activities of a Mahatma. This is what we are supposed to do. We're not supposed to hear to discuss the false, talk about the false, or you know, go on to the chat windows or keep typing this and that and all that. You know, is that's really so? At our side, we follow what authorities have kind of taken a decision. We respect it. We move forward, and we should have a prayerful heart. We should you know, become serious and learn from the mistakes so that I don't become a victim. Don't think that I am immune to it. If such a great personality can become a victim, what, you know, how easy for me to become a victim. So we learn as a lesson the many ways to look at it, and always remember the years of services and the sacrifice that devotee have done. But it's very unfortunate, people become so wild, so crazy and all that. They tag a person and, you know, they just forget. Why? Because our focus is on that particular incident. We're not able to look at the full picture. Hey, what about the countless years of services that he offered? You know, so why you want to just forget about all that? Okay, you don't want to draw inspiration. You want to call that person as your mentor and all that. Theek hai, no problem. But you still should have a, you know, imagine, think about it. Somebody who has become a victim of Maya, and now when he comes around you, and you just turn your face away and walk away. What would he undergo? I mean, what would he say? He would say, okay, you think you're so confident, you're so proud. I became a victim. I understand. How much would you last? Imagine what kind of community we create. We get a culture of counter cursing. Each one is cursing each other. Oh, you think you're so brave? You see how much you'll survive. It shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. As a culture, there should be a culture of care and concern, and our genuine prayers should be there for each other. And I believe, this is my understanding, this can only happen when a person is properly grounded. Those who are not properly grounded, they only act fanatically. Within our Krishna conscious culture, we can find radicals then, who would give radical comment or fanatic ideas about what should be done, not to be done, and all that. Who is not affected by Maya? Is there anyone who is not affected by Maya? There's nobody, even Brahma and Shiv is not immune to Maya. There is only one person who is immune to Maya. There's Nar Narayan Rishi living in this world. तो हमारा तो कुछ कहना ही नहीं. Only thing is हमारा केस स्टडी बाहर नहीं निकला है. हमारा पर्चा नहीं खोला गया है. वो कौन है? बागेश्वर बाबा, राइट? आजकल न्यूज में बहुत है, तो यही आता है, पर्चा खुल गया. तो आपका पर्चा नहीं खुला है. That's the only thing. I mean, I'm not saying anyone is doing wrong. I don't intend to say that, but I'm just saying take a humble role. What kind of, are we really perfect in everything that we do? In that sense, I'm making a point. All right.
Thank you.
Always remember, I don't want to name anyone, but I had from my own spiritual master on this subject matter of how his life was also affected by a leader, and what was his response to that leader. He said, well, we should not look at the mistake that he did. We should remember the countless years of service that he offered to Srila Prabhupada. We should remember that, and we should be grateful for that. If he wouldn't have done that, probably many of us wouldn't have had that opportunity to serve Krishna. He created that opportunity for us to serve Krishna, and he became a victim. And who had not become victim in this world? Brahmaji became, Shiva became, Indra became, you name it. Everyone became victim to that. He became a victim, and Krishna has his own way, and Krishna has not lost hope. In Krishna consciousness, there is no question of hopelessness. Nobody, suduracharo. Krishna is suduracharo, the most abominable. For that person also there is a hope. You don't meet and interact so intimately as you were doing before, that's okay. Well, focus on your Krishna consciousness, move forward, and have a heart of gratitude for every devotee who has contributed directly and indirectly in our life. All right?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mother Satya, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams. Prabhu, I had a question from the previous chapter, like in 8th chapter as well, where we were reading about Krishna's form and the abode both being unmanifest, and infallible. So what does actually unmanifest mean in the sense? I want to understand that, Prabhu.
See, which means cannot be perceived by our gross senses.
Okay, so we can't see with our material vision kind of thing.
Correct. Unmanifest. He is present everywhere. We cannot see him because of a limitation of material senses. So unmanifest, like that.
Okay.
So that's a way of it. We cannot. Okay, let me give a little technical answer to it. Let's see if we can capture it. What we see is not a function of eyes. Is a function of subtle vision. Eye is an instrument. Now let me ask this question. Can a blind person read? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Read in the sense, he can't
simple
see.
Question. No, simple question. Can a blind person read? Yes or no?
No, probably
He
with
can
not
read.
his material eyes.
No. Just give me answer yes or no. Can a blind person read or not? Yes, he can read or she can read through the hand, touch of hand.
Yeah.
So now the purpose of vision is getting fulfilled through another senses. So it is not about our instrument. So because we are so much into bodily consciousness, we think see means through the eyes. It doesn't work like that. The same thing gets exhibited through different senses. So when he says Krishna says unmanifested, he is unmanifested over polluted consciousness. But the same Krishna is manifested to one who has pure consciousness.
Okay.
That's it.
Because somewhere it is
Same
mentioned.
Krishna was unmanifested to Duryodhan and Shishupal. And same Krishna was manifested to Arjuna and Draupadi.
Yes.
All right?
So it says it never gets annihilated. So it is unmanifest and never gets annihilated, the supreme abode of the Lord. So what does that mean, Prabhu? So it is not visible to us. Yeah, we don't have the eyes to see it, or we don't have the vision to see it, and it never gets annihilated. Is there a relation between those words, or is it in generic sense?
I'm not really, it's something we can read the translation properly otherwise. But the point is simple. You're quoting the 9.4 verse, Maya tata midan sarvam jagat avyakta murtinaha mastani sarvabhutani there. It's not about annihilation, anything mentioned there. But Lord is eternal. We don't get annihilated. What's the question of Lord getting annihilated? So the point is simple. I am present everywhere, yet I am not visible. Atha Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahayam indriya sevan mukhe jivado swayameva spurati adaha. So Atha Shri Krishna Namadi, we cannot experience the guna, rupa, nam, lila of the Lord by our material senses. Yet sevan mukhe jivado, when we begin to engage in the service of the Lord through our tongue by chanting and eating Krishna Prasadam, swayameva spurati adaha. So it is a subject matter of revelation. Krishna reveals ourselves to, himself to us like that. Okay.
Sure. Thanks, Prabhu. Prabhu, I have some more questions, Prabhu. Sorry.
So why don't you just send me a message, Mother, on WhatsApp? Okay.
Sure, Prabhu. One thing is related to now what we have discussed about forgiving or
okay. Go ahead.
So I just wanted. So in a generic situation, Prabhu, like how usually this nature of immediately judging that it is a mistake, it is not a mistake, or it is this way or that way. Generally, it's a generic tendency of being in that situation many times. So what practically we can do in such situations, Prabhu?
Consult with seniors.
Okay.
When we're in the box, we cannot think out of the box. We need somebody else who is out of the box to pull us out of the box. That's it. Okay? We need support of higher intelligence. Fine, Mother?
Sure. Sure, Prabhu.
Srinivasan Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
This will be your first question in this session so far. The 9th chapter inspired you to ask a question. Let's see what question you got.
I just got confused with the Arjunacharya's example. There it said that Krishna get it done, but generally we also know that Krishna maintains it. So there are multiple people like Brahma, he has his own action.
No. That was spoken in context of devotees of the Lord. I protect my devotees. I carry what they lack and I protect what they have. It is in context of devotees. Ananyas chintayanto ma, ye jana parupasate. Now regular maintenance is happening through Brahma, Vishnu, Brahma, Mahesh and all that is different thing.
Okay.
But it was spoken for the devotees of the Lord.
Okay.
Don't mix the two things over there. So I protect, I carry. For whom? For my devotees. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So I guess questions have been answered for all. Thank you all for your kind attention. We conclude our discussion here for today. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. I'm sorry, I feel I couldn't do justice for today's discussion because of the whole bandwidth issue. I wanted to share few points. I also got distracted. And in the end, hey, Vaikunthpati Prabhu, सुना नहीं आपसे कुछ? मुझे लगा आप हो ही नहीं आज. I thought you were not there today.
No, I was there throughout.
Or you just joined in the last 5 minutes, huh?
No.
Okay.
I've been there throughout right from beginning.
Oh, okay. This subject matter could have had some insights from you.
Really?
So fine. I'm frankly speaking not satisfied with what happened today in terms of this whole internet and all that, because this last few verses are very important. I want to read Prabhupada purpose also, but fine, we'll see. We'll try doing next time. Okay, I could just in the end summarize few things, but we'll try to do something next time more. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita.